Hello, hello. My name is Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh, and I am obsessed with all things short-term rentals, revenue streams, and helping you navigate your career, real estate, and your busiest and most wonderful seasons of life. So grab your coffee, get comfortable as you get ready to learn and grow with me. This is the Luxury Short-Term Rental Doctor podcast. Welcome to the Luxury Short-Term Rental Doctor Show, where we dive into luxury short and mid-term rental investments, not just for our financial freedom, but for our time freedom also. I'm your host, Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh, and today I'm so thrilled to have Eric Moeller with us. He is the brains behind the Idyllwild operation. So founder and CEO, Eric has brilliantly transitioned from being STR host to launching a massively successful education program to launching this amazing brand. So I'm really, really excited to be here with you, Eric. He's going to share with us some insights and give us a peek behind the scenes of what this brand is that he is building. So Eric, would love for you to let's just dive in. Could you tell us a little bit about your shift from being a host to teaching other hosts to now this amazing brand of Idyllwild, where I've watched you build it over the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And it's been a wild journey, this short-term rental journey I've been on for the last 8-9 years, whatever it's been. But yeah, I think, I got into the short-term rental space kind of, 8-9 years ago when everybody else kind of stumbled into the industry, when we didn't really know what we were doing, but we saw an opportunity to like turn these properties into some really awesome short-term rentals. And that there was a lot of learning lessons through that. But yeah, grew a pretty successful arbitrage company, which turned into a luxury property management company. And at that time, we were again all trying to figure it out, and there wasn't any educators or anybody out there. And I kept, people kept coming to me to try to find out how I built this business. And that turned into coaching, which turned into programs, and which turned into a whole educational company with coaches and thousands of students all around the world, which was amazing. And then through that journey, it led me to Idyllwild. So it's been an interesting journey to get here, because I got into the industry at first because it was fun, and then I started scaling both of those businesses because of the impact and the money it was making. But it wasn't really having an impact on me personally, as far as passion wise. And then I worked on Idyllwild, and now we're a couple years into this generational company that I'm working on, and we got a long road to go, but it's been an awesome learning experience. So very passionate about what we're building right now with Idyllwild.
I love it. And so could you describe to us a little bit what exactly Idyllwild is? Because from my perspective, I say to people, it's like a boutique glamping hotel type of situation. But I want you to explain in your own words.
Yeah. So it's we still consider ourselves a short-term rental company. So what we do is we buy old vacation rental communities. So we buy cabin communities, boutique hotels, things like that are in nature inspired locations that are about 2-hour drives from metro areas, right? So from, right now we have our first main location that we launched back in November. That's about 2 hours northeast from San Diego, 2 hours southeast of LA, right? So we're buying in those types of markets and beautiful nature inspired locations. But we're buying these old vacation rental communities that have the infrastructure, they have the structures that are there. But they're so outdated, right? Like they haven't been updated in so long. They're run by mom and pops that have been running that for many, many years. And we come in, we buy those and we convert them to modern short-term rental experiences. So we focus very heavily on design. That's a big part. What I love about the process is really taking a older property and converting it to that modern experience. So we invest very heavily in design from our very intentional with the products, very intentional with the layout. And the main focus of our brand is helping travelers disconnect from technology while they're
Mm.
at our properties. So Free Wild stands for Be Free, Live Wild. And while you're at a Free Wild property, we encourage you to go into what we call wild mode, where we have this process where we help our guests disconnect from technology. And then we reward them at our properties with experiences that don't involve any type of technology at all. So that's our main focus and outcome for the brand. But we all circle around this short-term rental boutique hospitality business model.
Okay, I love it. And I remember when we were looking at your portfolio and the initial look of the spaces, I didn't quite see the vision that you had seen. I was like, okay, that one property with the little schoolhouse is like that's kind of cute. But you're right, it was like very out of dated, but the potential was there because what I thought was interesting is like there was a lot of land associated with it. I was
Mhm.
like, that's a lot of land. You could really, leverage that. And another thing that I thought was interesting was the zoning designation because some
Yeah.
of them were already designated for multi-use commercial. I was like, oh, that for me, that
Exactly.
was the ticket, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect point to go into. It's like, we spent so many years building short-term rental businesses
Yeah.
and battling with cities and states changing short-term rental laws
Mm,
and HOAs and, just all that stuff. And that
yeah.
was a big reason why I in the beginning, went from arbitrage to management to give me some more flexibility so I'm not
Yes.
locked into these properties. But then and you know me very well, like I'm big on setting visions and goals and constantly
Yes.
working on that. And as I was looking at like my 30-year vision of my life, I was asking myself, like, what kind of business do I actually want to build? And I recognize like I really want these flagship hotel
Mm,
style properties all around the world that my grandkids would be able to see and stay at one day, right? And I
mm,
recognize that the short-term rental business, we may or may not be able to do that with short-term rental permanent properties. But I love the short-term rental industry. So
yeah.
we focused on buying these properties, this specific one in Idyllwild. We bought that because of three main reasons. One is the existing structures there. The bones of it
Mm-hmm.
was really well, but the
Mm-hmm.
designs and all that stuff needed full upgrades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two is the size of the property. So we bought all the surrounding land to the property. So we have just under 2 acres, which is a
Mm-hmm.
lot for SoCal. Um, and right now, we're working on phase two, which we're building out 15 additional cabins on the property. But then the third reason is because what you just mentioned is the zoning. Because it is a hotel zoned area, we're
Mm-hmm.
going to get the hotel zoning or the hotel permit on the property. So we can't be, kicked out of the community because of short-term rental licenses, but we're still marketing our properties to the short-term rental traveler who's willing to pay a bit more for a different type of experience, right? So to me, that's our way of like kind of future proofing this business model and growing something within the short-term rental space at a high level.
I love that. And I think maybe I thought I was dreaming big, but maybe I need to dream bigger,
Let's
Eric.
go. Let's go. Hey,
Right?
that's the number one advice I've been getting from all
Yeah.
my mentors. And we're
Yeah.
fundraising right now. And
Oh, cool.
the number one thing that people are telling me is to go bigger. And it's like,
Wow.
think bigger. And I thought I was thinking big, and they're like,
Right.
so it's like, why not? It's the same amount of effort. Same
Yeah.
effort.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, so I want us to kind of take a step back a little bit, Eric, because many of my audience, they're in that space where they're feeling the urge, they're feeling a little bit of that burning desire to do something, you
Mhm.
know. We're not saying run out and buy a boutique hotel yet,
Mhm.
right? We're not rage quitting our jobs. I tell my audience, do not rage quit your job, although I rage quit my job. I don't want to talk about it. Do as I say, not as I do. So
Yeah.
my question on behalf of our audience is, can you talk to us about that moment where you realized, okay, I need to make a change. I need to do something different. And the reason I'm asking that is the paychecks are nice, not gonna
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
It is the golden handcuffs, and you have a similar experience. You were, you're running this amazing program where you have a lot of operators who are operating at the highest possible level. They're investing in themselves. They're wanting to build this community alongside you. And I know you're getting that inkling that, is this where I'm meant to be? But what's that moment that you say, you know what? I've got to take the leap. I've got to take the jump. I've got to take that leap of faith. Could you describe that for us a
Yeah.
little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that question, and that topic because it's still very fresh for me.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying situation to be in. Maybe terrifying is not the right word, but
It's terrifying. I agree.
it's a challenging situation to be in when you have something that's working now financially, and it's like we put
Mm,
all this work to get to this point, and financially it's great. My lifestyle, I don't want to disrupt my lifestyle. I love my lifestyle, but this thing that I'm putting
or I got
hours.
mouths to feed, kids that might be
Exactly.
going to college, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And it's like this
all,
works and this thing
mhm,
got us here,
yes.
right? But there's this
Mm,
piece that's missing, right? Of
mm,
like, for me, we built Overnight Success, which is the educational company. We put our heart and soul into that company for 4 years, and I was very passionate about it. I love coaching, I love educating, I love sharing the lessons that we're learning through the process of building businesses and seeing other people quit their jobs and like build their businesses and hire their first employees. Like it's awesome. But what I recognized, like I was looking, I recognized that um I was just completely misaligned with what I call my higher self, right? So like what is my
mm,
full potential within myself that I'm willing to try to achieve, and like is this truly what I want to spend the rest of my time doing? And for me to truly show up as a coach and as a leader, lead our team of coaches and employees, all of that, I you have to be truly passionate about what you're doing. And what I
mm,
recognized was regardless of the amount of money we were making, um, I just was not happy with what I was doing. And what I found was that when I was traveling to some of my students' places, or we were going to these awesome Airbnbs and short-term rentals, like I was freaking alive. Like I absolutely love finding these awesome properties, being in nature, finding the designs, trying to figure out how to upgrade properties, the whole thing.
yeah.
And I asked myself, I'm like, in 20, 30 years from now, looking back, like, how do I want to look back and what would want to put my time into? What is that story? And I recognize like I can do what I'm doing with Free Wild, designing these properties and hosting guests from all around the world. I could do that for the rest of my life, right? Like, I don't care how big it gets. Like, it could be $1 billion company or it could just be the size that it is now. That passion is still there for me to continue to go after that. So I just got really real with it. And I looked in the mirror and I recognized like I was unhappy. I was uh 30, 40 pounds overweight from where I'm at now.
Mm,
Like my health was a mess. I was kind of depressed. I was like angry, so it's like I was just of alignment. And
wow.
I just made that decision. I'm like, I recognize like this thing can make me a lot of money, but it's not driving any happiness to me
Yeah.
any longer. Like I feel like that chapter had closed for
Yeah.
me. And then I
Yeah.
recognize like, hey, I can do this thing with Free Wild for the rest of my life, regardless if it's at this level or $1 billion level. I don't care. That doesn't matter. It's this pursuit of finding these properties, building this brand, seeing how this brand impacts people. So
Yeah.
I made the decision. But one thing I didn't do was I didn't burn the bridges, right?
Mm,
So because the business is working and it works well, and we're still impacting the students that come through our program, right? That's not their problem. That's my problem. I have a misalignment of being the CEO of this company, and I recognize that. So I didn't burn the bridges. I looked at this as a way of overnight success, and what we're doing there is funding my dream to build Free Wild. So instead of just jumping ship and going all in, I built both of them at the same time. We maintained overnight success as I'm working on Free Wild. So it's like it took us 2 years to build this thing, And we still have a lot, we have a lot to do ahead of us, but now we could take our time and build this thing slowly. And we made a switch with it. I made a switch within 2 years to be in free wild full time. And because of that, now there's this whole new resurgence and excitement for overnight success because I'm bringing
Yes.
this whole journey with me back to the educational side. So yeah, it's I don't know if that answered the full question, but it's, I think for the people that are in a position of they're in a spot where it's financially comfortable
Yeah.
but it's just not exciting, fulfilling anymore.
Yeah.
It's working on that larger vision of what you truly want to work on. And it's like anything else. It's just carving out the discipline and the time to work on it daily until we can make that move. So yeah, I would be very cautious with burning bridges, but we got to have something that keeps us alive, like that excites us.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I think I think at the end of the day, it's making that move and recognizing like I think a lot of people just get caught up in that what they're in now and all the time that they put into building this thing, especially if it's a career and becoming a doctor or just in the medical industry. It's a lot to get to that point.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, like our time is so limited
Yeah.
on this planet that it's like if we're not fully aligned, have the faith in yourself that you can adjust and
Yeah.
take on and whatever decision you make is the right decision and you're going to make that decision right. And that was a big understanding for me. I'm like, if I had to I have to pivot now because this thing excites me and I'm okay with whatever that decision brings, I can take that on. So
I
it's a
love
it's a big
it.
mindset.
Yeah, I love it. And I love the way you talked about how you recognize for yourself that you weren't aligned with your higher self. I think that's so important. And so for some of us in medicine, if we're facing something like moral injury, we need to take a step back and start building that foundation if we so choose to look at what we can step into. I don't believe in rage quitting, but at the same time, you can leverage your W-2, leverage your private practice to fund what it is that you're dreaming of funding. And once you've taken that sabbatical, once you've taken that step back, it gives you a perspective, a different perspective. And I truly believe that our goal to build a wellness retreat where our audience, our members can go in feeling burnt out and come out feeling rejuvenated, that's what's going to heal healthcare. I think the healthcare practitioners are what's going to heal healthcare and bring healthcare to a whole new level. But when
Mhm.
you're too burnt out, you can't even see straight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. You got to take care of yourself, of course. But also, yeah, there's something that brings something out of you, like a new life when you're
Yeah,
excited about what you're working on. Right. And it's
yeah,
like you can still have that while you're working the air quote 9 to 5. As I was doing with my previous business, as I was
mhm,
moving into free wild. And what I
yeah,
recognize too, like I take a lot of inspiration from the military and especially special forces and all of that. And one thing that they have there, it's called the 40% rule of like physically and mentally, we quit 40% at our capacity. So we have an additional, we have a lot more in the tank to give on these. And as I started recognizing that, I started putting more intention towards the way that I spend my time throughout the day, 7 days a week. And it's like, especially if you have kids and all this other stuff, you got to be intentional with the time. So if you're moving into building that dream business or even just
yeah,
taking your money to invest into the sector that you want to invest into, it's like there's more in the tank if you're intentional about the way that we spend our time, right? So cutting
yeah,
out phones, cutting out Netflix, cutting out these things that don't actually drive to that feels good in the moment, but that is chipping away at this dream that we have. Like
mhm,
to me, I cut all that stuff out and it was all about maintaining the current business, building this new dream, rebuilding my body and my health and being mindful of how I spend my time. And eventually traction, just started picking up. Things just started picking up. So
I love that.
yeah.
So let's break down the deal. Can you tell us a little bit about how you found this initial deal? Because I know that when you were looking, you looked high and low, and you finally settled to this particular deal. Oftentimes, I think we overcomplicate things with, okay, everyone's investing over here, everyone's investing over there. But what's interesting about your story is, I believe, if I remember correctly, this is a market that you were intimately familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so
Yeah.
there was a passion for you there. So give us a little bit of information, how you found the deal, how you financed and funded the deal, the breakdown there, and a couple of the challenges you faced as you were going the process of that initial acquisition. And if
Yeah.
you can also describe, for the people, how the actual property and portfolio is set up, I think that would be helpful as well.
Yeah, for sure. So the town we bought in is called Idyllwild. And again, it's a mountain town that's about 2 hours northeast of San Diego and outside of LA as well. And ever since I've been living in San Diego, I've been taking trips up there and just absolutely fell in love with that town. And I would, every other month be either camping or stay at a short-term rental there. So I got really clear when I got clear with the free wild business idea and what I wanted to build. I got really clear that Idyllwild was my first stop to buy a property. So we were looking at properties up there and anything that would just kind of pop up on the market. And this is like, this is peak real estate market where, after COVID, everyone's buying a whole bunch of properties. The market is just absolutely insane. And I knew that. But I was excited about this thing and I'm like, hey, I'm building a generational company here. So I'm okay with where the market's at, right? And I knew I wanted to buy it at that moment. So we were actually looking at another property down the road, and my real estate agent just brought me by this one. He's like, "Hey, let's take a look at it. It just came on the market, but I thought the price was too insane, and I didn't necessarily see the value right away until I got to the property and walked the land and started recognizing, like, oh, this is exactly what I'm seeking." So it just kind of worked out as far as the real estate agent just suggesting it. But it was outside of our purchase criteria. It was smaller. It only had 4 cabins on it. The price was a lot more than what we were looking for. But as I started walking through it, I started recognizing the value in the property was the location and the ability to build additional cabins. So phase 2 of this is pretty incredible. We're working on that now. But I recognize like we can build quite a bit and leverage this property and turn it into something that's unique for that town. Right. So, yeah, we kind of just stumbled across this thing, which just worked out perfectly. The way that we financed it is pretty straightforward. We had a couple of high wealth individuals that we were seeding the free wild vision to over the last 6-9 months as we were building it, telling them what we're looking to do, and they wanted to back us. They got excited about the idea. Plus they like the idea of buying real estate. So we financed it through just one high wealth individual who came to the deal as a finance partner. And yeah, that's he's just the financier of the property. So 100% finance through the purchase, and then the second phase of the build out, which is going to be about another 2.1 million for the build out, is financed between him and his partner as well. So as of right now, we have stars aligned with the right partners to finance this thing. And right now it's 100% cash finance. And the goal is once we build and we season it, then we'll refinance, get the cash out, and dump that into another property. So yeah, so kind of just all the stars aligned and chips started falling into place, and it just worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah, I love that. And so, for our members who are looking at, how do I even find a location?
Yeah.
I tell them I use something called the CROW method with
Mm,
all the docs. And so CROW stands for it could be a property or location that you're connected with in some way, shape, or form, somewhere you've been before. You're like, wow, I see something here. Like I wouldn't know anything about Idyllwild if it weren't for
right.
you, right? So
Right.
you have that experience in your own backyard. And from there, references from professionals. So for you, it was two, and your professionals in the space are short-term rental real estate agents, those who
Hmm.
understand what it is that you're looking for, right? And O is on trend. Sometimes we find articles about these are the best places, and W is word of mouth. So that's the Crow method. And you
I
ticked
love
off the
that.
first two boxes to
Yeah.
answer the question because I get the question every day. I kid you not, Eric, how do I find my market? And sometimes it's in your own backyard, sometimes
Yeah.
it's not, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
So just go through that process. And I love that you actually experience that yourself. Okay, something you mentioned about high wealth individuals. How do you connect with, say, a partner? Some of our members are high wealth individuals
Hmm.
looking for deals to partner with others with, or some of our members are actually straddled with a ton of student loan debt, but they may understand exactly how to build out a model like this. So, what is your networking strategy? How do you make friends in high places, so to speak?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the benefit of this highly connected and highly technology driven world is that we can literally get in touch with anybody we want to get in touch with. Like that's the crazy part. It's like if you just get out of your own way and say, I just want to communicate with this human being, we'll be able to connect with that person, right? So, like for example, I was talking to my friend Dan yesterday, who's a serial entrepreneur, built and sold a few companies, and he's been going through this process of trying to figure out his next thing. And and we were talking yesterday, and brought this idea to me that he's currently working on, and it's amazing how he put this together. The concept from coming up with this product to coming up with the design to coming up with the outcome and how he wants to sell this product all within 24 hours of being he rented a cabin and just like got creative and like started writing, what do I actually want to do? And it came up with this product. He started reading all the books around this product in this industry that he's trying to enter into, which is brand new for him, and he's terrified because he's never been in this part of the industry. And in one of those books, he read about. I'm trying to be cryptic here. He read about a individual who built a similar business and sold it, and he spent some time on LinkedIn, found the person, cold emailed him, and long story short, is now has this mentor who wants to
Oh my
invest into this
gosh.
idea and help him build this thing, right?
Ooh,
All
yes.
within 24 to 48 hours, right?
Jeez.
And that reminded me, like he was sharing this with me yesterday. That reminded me that, like, no matter who it is, we have access to them. We just have to understand what is it that we're looking to ask? Like,
Yeah.
what do we need? And then what value can we bring them as well? Right. So the
Mhm.
individuals that are listening that are like, high wealth individuals that are looking to put their cash into places, it's like,
Mhm.
that's one of the easiest spots to be in because it's like
Mhm.
everyone who is doing something is looking for cash with the right
Mhm.
partners, right? So you're in a good spot to start networking. And the biggest part there is like to me, you have to enter into the industry that you want to be in. You have to absorb everything within that industry. So there's a
Mhm.
lot if you're entering in short-term rentals, there's a lot of people that are creating content that are actually doing really cool things in this industry, buying really awesome properties and raising money. We have to just start networking and communicating and sharing with them what
Yeah.
our vision is, right? But
Yeah.
also being patient in the process and not just jumping in and investing with anybody because
Mhm.
you got to find the
Yeah.
right people that align with you, you
Yeah.
know. Got to
Yeah.
find the right people. So I
Yeah.
share that with the idea of like I think people and myself too. You said this earlier is like we overcomplicate things.
Mhm.
Um, Literally we can get in touch with anyone via LinkedIn. And it's like if you know that you want to invest in short-term rentals and you know that you want to invest in really cool, unique properties, like focus on the people that are doing that now. Tony Robbins talks about like giants leaves success leaves clues,
Yeah.
right? It's like follow those people, connect with them, share with them what you're looking to do consistently. right? And then there has to be a decision matrix on who you choose to actually work with. But
I love
yeah,
that.
you got to get active,
Yeah.
proactive.
I love that. And something you mentioned that you did was you were seeding your vision. So that takes me into the part of our conversation where I said I wanted to talk a little bit about branding. Why is branding important? It's something that I don't hear enough of us talk about in this space.
Yeah, specifically for short-term rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I think the industry is shifting so fast and has
Mm-hmm.
shifted so fast to where it's, in the early days, you can just list any property on Airbnb. And because you were this like really cool concept of like renting someone's apartment in downtown San Diego, like you were able to book it out and make a ton of money on it, right? Now the industry has evolved, and we have everything from institutional investors all the way down to the mom and pops in every single community listing properties on Airbnb, right? And we'll just use Airbnb because they dominate the market, right? And when you try to stay at Airbnb, like it's always hit or miss. You have no idea what you're actually going to get product wise and service wise until you actually check in to the property, right? And I think that's a problem. I think Airbnb has done a really great job at creating this market and this opportunity for us to list properties. But as a consumer, even though there's reviews there, you have no idea what the product you're going to get until you actually check in. And then you have no idea the professionalism of the host, right? And for me, I've had as many great experiences, I've had terrible experiences on the platform.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I think the consumer is evolving. I think the consumer is more educated on what they're looking for. I think they are sick of the terrible hosting and the I don't know what I'm going to get until I check in thing, because that's kind of nerve-wracking when you're traveling to an area and you're like, I really hope this place is clean. I really hope this host is
yeah,
cool. That's a terrible thing versus like checking into a Marriott. You know exactly where you're going to get, and you know the
yeah,
professionalism. And if there's a problem, they're going to solve it, right?
yeah.
So I think mom and pops will still do extremely well on platforms like Airbnb. Then the
Mm.
mid-grade operators, that 25 to 200 listing units, I think they're going to phase out because you're seeing more and more people just focused on heads and beds, just getting properties, just listing, and not really
Mm.
focused on hospitality. And people always forget
Mm.
this, that we're in the hospitality industry first, then we're in the real estate industry second, right? So I think the power of the brand, and like for everyone going back to all these conversations that we've been having, it's like before you even leap into this industry, you got to get clear on what you want to actually do, right? Like what properties do you actually want to be involved with? Because you can get involved with a 5-bedroom mansion or a 1-bedroom tree house in the mountains, right? Like spectrum's so large that you have to get clear on what you actually want to get involved with.
Yeah,
And then from there, the brand, you can tell a lot about who you are as an operator and as a company through the brand that you develop and communicate to the world, right? So there's a certain feeling that we were going after,
yeah.
because when I was traveling, like I couldn't find properties that I was seeking, and like I would find a cool
Mm.
property but the hosting was terrible, or I found like okay passable property and the hosting was good but the experience was short, right? So I just recognize that the industry is shifting to a place where guests are seeking out brands that align with their vision of what they're looking to have at a stay. And if you can lead with a brand, and not everyone has to do this, this is a whole other animal to go after, but if you can develop a brand, and that could be something small or something large, and focus on one type of traveler's needs and center everything around that feeling of, for me, it was like I wanted them to be inspired by the space. I wanted them to feel like they were checking into my guest house at my home, like it's your welcomed home, essentially. And I wanted them to connect with this brand outside of the short-term rental as well. So it was all about developing this professionalism. So when you see a free wild on Airbnb or any other platform, you know what you're going to get. And I think this industry is still struggling at executing on that. There's a couple of brands that are
Mm,
doing it well, but they're not doing it great. And we want to play at the highest level because it's one of the most difficult things to do in this space in short-term rentals. But I really do think the industry is shifting and the guest is more educated on what they're looking for. So if you can communicate
mm.
that through brand, you're developing multiple assets. You're developing the asset of the real estate and you're developing the asset of the brand, which is extremely valuable over time.
I love that. I
Is that a
love that.
long response to that question?
No, no, no. But it brings the truth to the surface, right? To the forefront. And the truth is, you're right that, the lack of standardization across the board could be a little bit unnerving for our guests. So I think that's a really powerful perspective to keep in mind as we're looking to always provide that ideal guest care. I think in business, it's really not what you say that matters the most. It's how you make others feel. And so that,
100%.
yeah, that kind of put the icing on that. Alrighty, so Eric, I have loved this conversation and I look forward to continuing it because your journey I feel like you're a beacon and you're definitely a shining star in this space. So for the listeners who are looking to just stay connected with you, collaborate with you, or even invest with you, we do have some accredited investors in our audience. How can they connect? And we'll be linking everything in the show notes for you, but what's the best way to get connected with you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would say check out freewild.com. So freewyld.com. And then for me personally, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I spend most of my time, I've gotten off of pretty much all the other social medias and I spend most of my time there. So it's Eric D. Moeller on LinkedIn.
Got it. And we will add that in the show notes for you. So thank you guys again for tuning in to today's episode of the Luxury Doctor Show. You know what? Wasn't that good, guys? I thought that was amazing. Eric shared just so many invaluable insights from his journey, and he's a powerhouse in the goal setting space as well. So I hope you all got a little glimpse of that. So be sure to join us next time as we continue to explore the power of real estate investing. Until then, I'm Dr. Rachel Gainsbrugh, wishing you smart investments and great success. Goodbye for now.